specifically wore this dress for today's video, and it might look like I was trying to show off blemishes so that we could talk about them, my breakouts. No, we're talking about split ends. We're gonna talk about the dead little pieces of hair that stick out like straw or hay that everyone likes to talk about how ugly and frizzy they make our hair, but almost everyone has them, and almost everything that we've been told about them is a lie. Specifically, everyone talks about repairing split ends. I hate to break it to you, but as based on hair science, you can't actually repair a split end, and we need to talk about why and what you can do and what I've been doing, because I have naturally curly hair. Right now it is kind of straightened and blown out, and this is what it looks like when it's curly. Curly hair is more prone to damage, and if you're frizzy or curly or have any texture in your hair, or if you dye it or blow dry it, you've probably got split ends. And you've probably been sold ridiculously expensive products to try to treat them, and that's why we need to talk about them, because don't waste your money, babes. Don't waste your money. Now, what does that have to do with a blue dress? Well, you can actually see my split ends more when they're on a dark color. Or like if you hold them up in your car, have you noticed like your split ends look worse in the car than anywhere else? Why is that? Well, usually because like the console is black and you can actually see what's going on and you're like, ah, motherland! Ah, motherland! Yeah, that's why. But let's talk about hair anatomy, why split ends happen, and what you should absolutely not waste your money on, because so many people are buying split end repairing treatments, or they're getting regular trims, which, spoken to some hair care experts, some doctors, some derms, some trichologists, and no, trimming your hair does not help it grow longer, and trimming your hair, while it can remove split ends, does not prevent them from coming back. So let's talk about it, babies. What exactly is a split end? Well, a split end is when the end of your hair splits, and it can actually happen in multiple ways. As you can see, there's like a Y split, there's like a tree split, etc. And what normally causes split ends are things such as damage. In day-to-day life, this is usually things like color or heat. If you like to heat style your hair or color your hair, it's more likely that this will happen. However, some people who just have naturally curly hair have a tendency to have more split ends. When you look at the structure and the anatomy of curly hair, well, it literally curls around. But that also means that it has more weak points. When we look at physics, there's more of these bends, and those bends are not only exposed to the sun and the elements, but they create areas with more or less tension. When we compare that curly hair to a strand of straight hair, that straight hair may still have tension on it, especially if you pull it up in a ponytail, but there aren't those same kinks, there aren't those same weak spots that could lead to breakage. But just by virtue of having textured or curly hair, it is more likely to be frizzy. And who here who has curly hair has been told like, frizz control, buy this frizz control, buy this thing. Frizz control could actually work because you're taking down the frizz. I saw a TikTok hack where they use floss, which costs hardly anything, so just keep that in mind, or in your back pocket, or in your back molar. Actually, don't use the same floss in your molars that you do on your hair, but keep that in your back pocket for later. Even if you're buying the frizzy hair taming products, number one, do they work? And number two, what are we going to do about these ends? Before we talk about the products that we are sold to mend split ends, which again, cannot technically happen, we also have to talk about something else that can happen to the hair, and specifically what the hair is made of. Hair is made up of dead keratin. You know, the same stuff that your skin is made of, keratinocytes? Well, your hair is made up of keratin. It grows here inside of your head, in your scalp at the root, and then it gets pushed out. The hair grows in 3 primary stages, or 4 stages if you consider the exogen stage, but you can think of it as ACT, A-C-T, the anagen, the catagen, and the telogen stage. And the exogen stage is when they fall out. But basically this cycle is happening to your hairs all the time. And if you actually look closely at your scalp, sometimes there's multiple hairs growing out of each one. And real quick, we need to look at hair under the microscope because of how it actually grows. You see, we have what's called a cuticle. The cuticle kind of seals the hair, but if that cuticle is really dry and rigid, it looks like this. Do you see how it has all these flakes coming off? Well, when we apply conditioner or hair serums or something smoothing, it smooths over that cuticle. It makes it look a little bit more healthy, right? Well, let's go to the end of this hair. You see that split end? That split end is still gonna be there. It's not gonna magically heal itself together. What we're doing is just the same way we can smooth over the cuticle of the hair, we can smooth over the split end. But when we look at it under a microscope, that split end is still gonna be split no matter what. There's no way to regrow and to heal a split end. So why does everybody say that like trimming your split ends is the best way to improve hair growth? It's not. Trimming your split ends is not down here going to do anything to how fast your hair grows up here. There's no pain signal being transferred up here, you know, to tell us that we're hurting or to tell us that it's long and time to chop it off, right? If you want to trim your hair because it makes it look better or because it makes it look more even, or you want to remove those split ends, trimming your hair is literally the only way to actually get rid of split ends.
It's literally the only way to actually get rid of split ends.
And because the hair is dead protein, that's why it can't heal. If we get a wound on our skin or inside of our mouth or something, it heals, right? But if we break a nail or get a split end in our hair, that's kind of like the equivalent of a wound on our nail beds or in our hair. They grow out, but not back together. And that's why anyone who tells you otherwise doesn't know better or is lying to try to sell you something unethical. Now, why do people say trim your split ends to make your hair grow faster? There's this theory that the split end can continue splitting all the way up the hair, but number one, most hairdressers and professionals have not seen that happen. And number two, remember that split ends can happen in all sorts of ways. I mean, I'm sure you've seen people with short hair and with long hair that both have split ends. They don't discriminate, and usually it's based on heat styling or on coloring or just on genetics and how curly your hair is, or if your hair actually breaks off and kind of has those little balls at the end, which can be genetic, or sometimes the hair can even break off up here. It has more to do with that than with whether or not you're trimming it. So while trimming your hair is the only way to get rid of split ends, what if you're between trims or you don't want to get a trim because you don't want to spend the money, you want to actually grow your hair out, but you've been told that you could mend split ends? What's that about? You can support the split end by basically taking that little split, let's just say it's a Y split, and putting some sort of product on it to try to smooth it over. Now, that split end is never going to be unsplit. It's still split in the middle here, but it's kind of like gluing it together in a way that doesn't make your hair feel overly sticky or overly crunchy. Now, there are many different products to do that, but I found that I don't even need a separate split end mender. I just use my regular hair care products that have smoothing properties in them. What you see most in split end repairing products are things such as silicones, or you see things such as oils. And again, those aren't going to repair anything, but they're literally kind of like smoothing it over in a way that still feels nice to run your fingers through. You should actually watch both Mains by Mel, her sister Amanda, and Curly Chemistry. They talk about split ends, hair science, and hair chemistry like no one else. I'm not a hair care expert. I'm just a frizzy who's figured this out and was like, no, I need to save my other babes and my curly girls money because this is getting ridiculous. However, if you really want hair science, you need to go watch some of their videos. Now, you could go out and buy a specific product for split end mending, even though it's lying to you because it's not mending anything. It's literally a band-aid. It's smoothing it over, okay? And we are going to smooth over my angst about that subject because I get very passionate about split ends and eye creams. If you don't know, now you know. I have found that there are specific things that I literally use on my skin that can work on my hair. You know, a hair oil is like a lightweight oil that gives you shine, can help decrease a little bit of frizz, and can help make a split end look less split because it's kind of forcing that Y back together. This is a skincare oil from Ulla Henriksen that I love. It's the Hydra Barrier Nourishing Oil with vitamin E. This vitamin E is the same stuff that you find in certain hair care products. Now, if you want a specific hair care serum or formula, you can probably get something that's made for the hair that feels more lightweight, that smells better, that works better on the dead protein. Whereas your skin, yes, there's dead keratinocytes here, and there's still dead protein that is the top layer of the skin, but this is meant to penetrate the skin a little bit more. But for me, I was like, why am I gonna buy a specific hair oil when I can just do this? I have been loving this. This is from Be Minimalist. This is a hair care product. This right here is the hair serum with amino acids with argan oil and squalane, but this is different because this is an oil that you put on your skin and then I rinse it out. Now, this makes my hair super shiny, soft, super beautiful. It gives me the look and the anti-frizz of a hair oil, but you've washed it out so there's no oil in it. But this doesn't mend my split ends. Like, my split ends are still there. And if I want to get rid of them, I either need to chop them off. That's the only way to get rid of them. Prevent them from happening, which as a curly girl, I pretty much can't. Otherwise, just don't heat style and don't use those hairbands that rip the hair out because that ripping can actually cause, you know, damage in that end to split. But basically just, hey, try your best to smooth it over. Now, something else that I use for my curly hair is something that Mains by Mel gave to me. This is amazing. I've rebought it like 6 times thanks to her. This is the Verb Curl Cream. This is not to mend split ends. This is to make your curls bouncy, flouncy, flu, fun. The best thing about Tigger's is that he's a curly one. His tail's curly. See? friends. But this is a curl cream that is meant to shape, define, refrizz, and repair. Again, I don't agree with that claim. This does not repair the hair. It repairs the look of the split end. But while I'm getting my curl cream and doing what Mains by Mel taught me, it's helping smooth over that split end. And this is literally, it's like a paste, right? It's like a little bit of a glue. She taught me how to put it in my hands, rub it together, and like string it through. It helps my curlies be curly, but then it just takes that end and it coats it. So that little Y or that tree split is now just smoothed over until I next wash it. I don't need to buy something special. I can literally use something that works for my curls, something that works for my skin, or an oil that I can rinse out to decrease the appearance of split ends, even though you can't technically get rid of them. Of course, there are other things you can do, like using nourishing shampoos, or I recently used a hair smoothie from Shea Moisture. If you moisturize your hair, it's more likely to break and bend less, right? Or if you use a heat protectant before you style, that can help prevent split ends. But if anyone's telling you that they can get rid of split ends, look at this slide from under a microscope. There is no way to get rid of that unless you chop it off. So we can smooth it over, but we can't get rid of it. I just want you to have this information so that you can make the right decisions for you. You can repurpose products you already have, or you can purchase products that are actually going to work, because you are not just a skintellectual. What is the skintellectual version of hair care? A biolectual? You're a beautylectual? I don't know. You're smart, okay, babes? And you know these things. And now when you read claims on bottles, even from good products, you can say, my bolstometer is going off, and I see what you're doing, and I'm gonna choose whether or not I wanna spend my money on this, instead of feeling pulled to buy it to fix an issue that society is telling me that I have, that literally everybody has to one point or another. And I also don't want you to feel like you absolutely have to go in and continue like trimming your hair and getting haircuts if you're trying to grow it out. Cutting the hair shorter here does not help it grow longer up here, okay? Okay. Overall, always remember to stay hydrated both orally and on your hair topically. Always reapply that SPF. We can talk about scalp SPF in another video if you would like. But most importantly, be beautiful both inside and out. I love you, and I cannot wait to see you in this next video. Love you guys. Bye.